Hello, my name is Tori Oates, and today I'll be going over 5 good examples as well as 5 bad examples for certain elements that are taught in the Visual Focus textbook. The first element that I'm going to go over today is message. And particularly for my good example, I'm going to use Adidas's website. The textbook highlights a great point in which an effective message with a powerful design will ultimately create a big idea. And I think Adidas does a great job here using powerful images and just overall great visuals, as well as they also have a very powerful and effective message by saying defying the status quo in order to kind of emulate what their new product and what their new shoe line is all about. And overall, this creates a great core central message in what they're trying to convey to their consumers. The poor example that I'm going to use for message is pennyjuices.com's landing page. Now, based on the information on their landing page, there's no central message, and there's not really a main point on what they're trying to convey. So overall, this would be considered a poor example of element number 1, message. The second element that I'm going to go over is proximity, and I'm going to use Microsoft's website as an example. Microsoft uses one of their core products, which is the Xbox, as a focal point in their main image on their landing page. And by hovering over this focal point, which is what the consumer is visually drawn to at first sight, it creates flow by these arrows popping up right here to click to the next image, which then again has a focal point. Kind of just keep on clicking until eventually you run into the same images, and then it creates further flow by going over to the pre-order now. Now, the second example that I'm going to use for proximity that's a poor example is this website for the city of Lincoln, Nebraska. The images all along the top are the same size, and there's also an even number of images across, as well as all the text in this landing page are the same size. The titles are all the same font size. The subtitles are all the same font size and the same color. There's just no real focal point, and thus creating no flow and no proximity. The third element that I'm going to go over is color. And for my good example of a website, I'm going to use Gatorade. And now on their landing page, in this first image, Gatorade does an excellent job using a contrast of colors between dark colors in the background and as they fade across, and then bright neon colors that signify their drinks. And then throughout the rest of the images, they use the color orange, which is significant to their brand, with dark grays throughout, creating even further contrast as well as a sense of brand identity. The bad example that I'm going to use for color is Mindy's website, for which she's running for New York City State Senate or New York State Senate. Overall, it's not very clear. And also, the coloring here is just completely irrelevant to what she's trying to get across. She uses bright neon pink and then flashy color, almost like it's a diamond in this subtext right here. And overall, it just doesn't really convey, I think, the message that Mindy would want to get across as she's running for a political office. She really only uses red, white, and blue in this image that changes, as well as right here. Overall, it would have been better for her to avoid using the neon pink and done more of the standard red, white, and blue, seeing that it is a page for a political position. The fourth element that I'm going to go over is repetition, particularly the rule of thirds. And I'm going to use Coca-Cola's website as a good example. Now, Coca-Cola does a great job using the rule of thirds here because their main image on their landing page has 3 individuals, as well as their focal point also emulates the rule of thirds by having 3 Coca-Cola bottles. And it's just a great visual that really draws the consumer in, especially with the Coca-Cola bottles and using 3 of them. And it's just a really strong image and a great use of repetition. Now, the example that I'm going to use, it's a poor example of repetition, is the Vans website. Vans does not use the rule of thirds. In fact, they have 4 shoes within this image. And then they also have customized men's and customized women's block, which are 2 rather than 3. And also for repetition, there should be a sense of consistency throughout. And Vans chooses shoes that all have very different and exotic designs, and it's just not very visually appealing to the consumer, and there's just not a sense of repetition, and everything is very sporadic. And the last example that I'm going to use is Apple, and I'm going to specifically talk about the element of elimination. And Apple, I think, does one of the best jobs in their website by creating a very simplistic, clean, clear-cut website, really prominent images, and they do a great sense of just eliminating unnecessary information, and they just use their visuals and a few key texts such as the iPhone 8, a new generation of iPhones, to get the point across on what they're trying to say. And they just eliminate a lot of unnecessary information, and it's just very simplistically beautiful. And my poor example for elimination is going to be this car dealer's website. Now, as you scroll down, there's just a lot of unnecessary text, and a lot of it can be eliminated. There's also a lot of random images on the side that can be eliminated, as well as at the top of the page. There are these flyers that the flyers themselves contain a lot of images and a lot of small text, but they can't even be read. So they should really just eliminate these, eliminate unnecessary text throughout their entire website. So overall, these are 10 examples of the elements, 5 good and 5 bad for each. Thank you.